It is true that we will probably always have files that have been saved or originally created outside of SharePoint. But we hope that as we integrate SharePoint and we learn how to use SharePoint a little bit better, that we will start to save files as we create them in SharePoint. We need to know how to do that. What we're going to do is go ahead and create a brand new Word document. There's not really a whole lot of tricky things about this. It's just that a lot of people feel a little uncomfortable creating things in a way that's different from what you're used to doing. Really, all we have to do is make sure that we start within the library into which we want to save the document. So we're currently starting in Shared Documents. We want to create something new. So we could go up to the Files tab, and we could choose New Document, or we could just click or tap the New Document link at the top of the list. This is going to bring up a window and say, great, what kind of new file would you like to create? And of course, this is a Microsoft product, so our options are Word, Excel, PowerPoint. 2013 also allows the creation of OneNote notebooks and a few other things like maybe an Excel survey. Notice that even though this is about creating a new file, it does give us kind of a break if we forgot, and it also lets us upload an existing file. Well, we're going to start right at the top and just click Word Document. Now, of course, we have just left SharePoint. We're launching Microsoft Word, and everything that we do from this point forward is going to be within Word. It wants us to start, however, with a document name. So we're going to call this SharePoint 2013 User Training. And this specifically is going to be an outline, so we'll finish up with that word. Now, that may or may not be the way that you choose to name your documents. That's okay. You need to follow your own protocols, but that'll work for us. So now we'll click or tap OK. And notice that what SharePoint is doing is opening the Word web app. This is something that we do need to get used to if we're going to be using the web apps. The web apps are kind of light versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote. They work within the browser, and the reason that they're nice is it means that if we have SharePoint access, then we can probably work in Office even if we're working on a computer that doesn't have Microsoft Office loaded. Now, I'll be honest with you, I usually work within the regular full Office application. But we needed to see that these Office web apps are loaded, they are part of Office 2013, they are part of SharePoint 2013. So if you see them or if things look a little bit different, now you'll know why. When we look at Word, we can see that it's very Word-like, but it's not completely Word. In other words, we see that we still have a browser title bar at the top. And if you take a look at your different ribbon options, most of them are there, but some of them are a little bit limited. You can feel free to work here. And I'm just going to go ahead and start typing a title. I'm going to type SharePoint 2013 User Training Outline one more time, just so we have something to see. But now I want you to notice how easy it is to go into the full-blown Word desktop application. Because within the web apps, there's always a link that says open in the full application. We'll give that a click or a tap. We'll say yes, go ahead and save it. Remember that because we started in SharePoint, it has already saved it in SharePoint. So don't be concerned that it didn't ask you where to save it. It's saved in the library. And now we're in the full-blown Word desktop application. Now, the ribbon is collapsed, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on Home and just pin this down so it looks right to most of you. That'll look a little bit better. This is the regular application. We can now do anything we want. Once we are in these applications, it has really nothing to do with SharePoint. It has to do with all of the functionality that you're used to using in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote. We can now create a sentence, a word, 50 pages, 1,000 pages, whatever it is we want. We get to work to our heart's content. The question is, when we're done, what do we do? And the answer is, well, almost nothing. But I want to show you something before we finish up. If we click on the File tab, what happens in the later versions of Office is that you get basically an info pane right here. It's telling us a lot of information. It gives us the title. It tells us where it's located. So this tells us that this is coming from the Shared Documents library. On the right-hand side is our Property panel that tells us a lot of information. We can fill in any required fields here. But I wanted to show you that if you go to the Properties dropdown and say Show the Document Panel, that this also will show you any of the columns, especially custom columns that have been created in the document library. This tells us that it's coming from the server. It also tells us, because it's a brand new document, that even though we gave it a file name, we did not give it a title yet. We might want to do that here. I'm going to highlight our title, use Control-C on my keyboard to copy it, and basically just copy it from the body of the document and paste it in as this property. And there we go. So while it's not very exciting at the moment, this is another place where you can come in and fill in properties. Properties can be added either from within the authoring application, like Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, using this Properties panel, or they can be done by viewing or editing properties from within the library. When you're finished with this, you can close it out. It has its own little close button on the upper right-hand corner. We've now made a couple of changes to the document, and now we're simply going to close it. Notice our Save button looks a little bit different here. That's because it needs to be saved and refreshed. So we're going to click on Save. We're going to say that we are absolutely done with Word, so we're just going to close Word out. And after everything gets done closing down, if we bring our web browser back to the foreground and possibly refresh it, we should see that our brand new document is listed right here. So we went through a couple of different steps because we also showed you the web app and then took you into the full-blown application. But basically, to create new files, you simply use the New Document link, or you use the ribbon, and from Files, choose New Document here, open whatever authoring application it is you want, and from that point forward, do what you normally do. When you save the file, SharePoint knows where to put the document and will put it right back where it belongs, so you really don't have to remember or memorize anything. That means that you are becoming a SharePoint expert because you're starting to realize there are more things that are similar, no matter what you're doing in SharePoint, than there are new and unique things. We know that existing files can be uploaded to SharePoint and that new files can be created as well, either from within the library or actually from within the Authoring Office application. When you author from within the Office application, the only thing you have to do when you go to close is to save it to the right location. And by choosing to share and choosing to share it on SharePoint, it will find your libraries for you automatically. With Office 2013, you can save items directly to SharePoint or vice versa. And that's what really makes all of this easy. We've talked about how there are some differences. And even though we didn't look at the slide library specifically in this video, as a reminder, if you're trying to save a new slide to a slide library, then you're going to be prompted to select individual slides. Creating all other new types of content will be the entire file, the entire Word document, the entire OneNote notebook, or the entire Excel workbook. And lastly, if the library has required columns that have not been completed, you will be prompted to fill them in when the file is saved. It really is exciting how easy it is to do all of this as compared to what it used to be. One of those new additions is the addition of the Office web apps. So if you're able to work with the full-blown software that you have installed on your computer, or maybe you're visiting somebody else who doesn't happen to have Word or Excel, you should be able to work with the majority of what you need to do with your Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and OneNote files directly from within the browser.